So lots of talks about coaching, and coaching is a central figure of the NBA Finals. It's a central storyline to this Finals tonight because you got a guy like Eric Spoelstra, established, been with the Miami Heat a long time. You've got, Michael Malone, and despite the fact he's probably, I think we did the math, he's probably the fourth longest tenured coach in the league behind Pop Spo and Steve Kerr. He's a guy who part of his story, unfortunately, is what he went through here in Sacramento. That's a component that's not a part of Eric Spoelstra's story. But when you look at, and then as Kenny, as you outlined there a minute ago, talking about, there were rumblings at times that the Denver Nuggets were going to move on from Michael Malone. There was, those
maybe
off-season content about, hey, what coach is on the hot seat entering the season? Michael Malone's name has been on that list at times, and this is a credit to the Denver Nuggets, one, for staying the course, and it's a credit to Michael Malone for ignoring all that, continuing his vision, continuing his work, with this team. And man, I think we have drawn this comparison a lot, but I think the Denver Nuggets are such a fascinating model for the Sacramento Kings to follow.
And one of the things you talk about, people, calling for his job. I wasn't calling for his job, but I was definitely one of those people that's like, yo, Mike Malone got to do something this year.
Yeah.
They got to advance at least to the conference finals. And they stuck with him. They let him coach that team the way he wants to coach them.
Mm-hmm.
And they've shown that success. And I do, when you talk about the parallels with the Kings, I do believe that we could see the same thing here, because it seems like that's what they allow Mike Brown to do here in Sacramento. They allow him to coach that team the way he sees fit. The players seem to respond to him. And there's the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about with Denver is there's a good amount of cohesion there. Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Jokic, these guys have been together for 3-4 years now. Now I know Murray missed the season because of an injury, but I think they got Aaron Gordon, I think the bubble season, or maybe it was after the bubble season. But Murray and Jokic have been together going on five years now or something like that. So there's a level of cohesion.
I mean, even Michael Porter.
Michael Porter
was a part of that.
Yeah.
He was a part of that draft too.
So they gave it time, not only with the coach, but with the core of that team. And they added pieces around there with KCP and Bruce Brown. Jeff Green's been there for a little bit now as well. So one of the things that has me excited about this Kings team is they have a level of cohesion, closeness, togetherness after year one. And I just feel like they're going to only get better the more they get comfortable with each other. They know each other's games. They learn each other's game more and more. I think they're committed to having these guys together. That's why, going back for a previous conversation we had with Harrison Barnes and whether he comes back and what they want to do at that small forward position, that's why I said I feel like this is the summer where you make that decision. Because all these guys are going to be here for a while. Like, they're not, unless you trading people, which I don't really see. Fox is under contract in here for a while, and you're probably going to want to sign him to a new one.
Yeah.
Sabonis, you're probably going to sign him to a long-term deal next year. Keegan Murray is a rookie.
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter's here for another 3 years, I think. Malik Monk, you only got him for one more year locked up, but you want to bring him back. These guys are going to be together for 2-3 years, like we've seen Denver right now. The only spot where you would be making that change is if you move on from Harrison Barnes. But if you don't, Harrison's probably going to be here for another 3 years. So you're going to have an opportunity to build that cohesion with this group. And we've seen how it's worked for Denver.
Yeah, you mentioned, and this is I think this is one of the components of growth that we don't talk about, because you just mentioned the cohesiveness and the closeness of the Sacramento Kings team in year one. And, where could they be in year 2, 3, 4, 5? And when we talk about the arc of the Denver Nuggets that's leading to this moment tonight where they, start their journey to play for an NBA championship.
Mm.
You mentioned the Jamal Murray ACL tear. Didn't mention, the various injuries Michael Porter has gone through. Michael Porter said, yesterday, I see all of this extra work that these guys are doing to get better. I have to do all of that work just to stay healthy. He says, he's I couldn't, I was reading it. I wasn't hearing it. So I want to be careful how I interpret this, but man, I wouldn't blame him if he was almost saying it with a level of resentment. It's hard for me, because I can imagine his thought is, it's hard for me to work on my game to get better when I'm working on my body just to be on the floor. And he's done a magnificent job. He's a solid ball player. It only, you only kind of hit the what if button when you recognize it wasn't DeAndre Ayton, wasn't Luka Doncic, wasn't Trae Young. It was him.
Yeah.
That was his draft.
Yeah.
And injuries derailed that. I'll never forget the scene of watching him so gingerly trying to walk on the stage and have his moment. And that's a credit to the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets were in a position where they could take that risk. They could give him time, and they can let that all work out because they had a team good enough to survive without him. But those are the hiccups for a team at this point. And while in theory, it's great to think, where is this Sacramento Kings team going to be in year 2 or year 3 or year 4 when all of these guys really are, locked into this team long term? We don't have to worry about Jokic anymore. De'Aaron's going to get his 3rd contract. Malik would have signed an extension by then. Keegan's entering his 2nd contract, and you've got this core group that you feel really good about. Well, that's cool until there's a monkey wrench thrown in it. For, Denver, it was the constant setbacks for Michael Porter. For Denver, it was the ACL injury. For Jamal Murray, the slow return. All of this is happening as Nikola Jokic, and we'll talk more about this later, is going through this incredible physical transformation that's turning him into a 2-time MVP and arguably the best player in professional basketball right now.
Right.
There are hiccups that come with the journey. The journey isn't going to be perfect. It feels like, and this can all trace back to your remark nearing the end of the regular season, where it was enjoy how you feel right now. Enjoy this moment because you're never going to feel like this again. Kings could be completely healthy next year, but you're going to feel different. The ups and downs are part of the process. This season for the Sacramento Kings felt like up, up, up. I'd argue it didn't really hit a down until the 3rd quarter of the Game 7. Yeah. That's where it was all right, this is tough, because this is where it's coming to an end. And that's not really a down. That's the end. Right. It's different. But there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be things that stall the process. The key is to ignore the Athletic article from John Hollinger that says Mike Brown is on the hot seat. The key is to ignore the trade proposals that include Keegan Murray or Domantas Sabonis or De'Aaron Fox. The key is to, and I'm not talking about us as fans or media people. I'm talking about Monty. Yeah, I'm talking about that locker room. I'm talking about that front office. I'm talking about Monty. I'm talking about Wes. I'm talking about all those guys. Setbacks are going to come. It's how you respond to those that's going to determine whether you're going to have an ability to play for the NBA Finals. I'd argue if the Denver Nuggets let those setbacks, even one of them, get the best of them, and you point the finger at Michael Malone, they're not here.
I agree.
They're not here.
And I believe maybe it's pie in the sky, whatever. I don't know. I believe the infrastructure is here in Sacramento to be able to replicate that, replicate that type of mentality. Who knows if they have that type of success? But I believe they have that type of mentality, the type of work ethic to go along with that mentality to continue to get better. I think it's there for them. I really do. I look at De'Aaron Fox. He's a hell of a ball player. I look at Sabonis. He's a hell of a ball player. Keegan Murray, if he doesn't get any better, is still a damn good ball player. And that's great. That's like, I feel like that's, being really conservative with your outlook for Keegan Murray. Let's just say he don't get any better. He stays the same player for the next 5 years. That's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a guy that's shooting 41% from beyond the arc at 6'9", 6'10". That's really good. We all think he's going to improve. I'd bet money that he's going to improve as a ball player. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with his game. But you talk about all those components for the Kings. You got Mike Brown, who I'm a believer. I'm a believer in him with this team.
Mm-hmm.
You put all those components, I don't think they're going to let any of the outside noise distract them. They didn't let any of the outside noise distract them this year. It was different noise.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't trade speculation or this guy should be gone or anything like that. It was more doubt, like, oh, they're not that good. They're not that good.
Gonna light the beam right out the first round.
Right.
Weakest 3 seed in history.
They didn't let any of that distract them. They were always ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
They get down 3-2, they lose game 5 at home. They were ready to go game 6 in Golden State,
Mm-hmm.
where nobody gave them an opportunity to win that game. So I do believe that they're tough enough, man. I do. I think this group is the right group to be able to have this type of success in the future.
Watching Jokic, and that's the important. That's where I just look at I look at so many of the moves Phoenix made, and as much as I really like Kevin Durant and Chris Paul, and I have an appreciation for Devin Booker, I think they made a mistake. I understand it's Kevin Durant. I absolutely understand it's Kevin Durant. I get why, and no matter what direction you go, it's a risk. I'm not trying to frame this as if this was an easy decision for whether it's the ownership group or the front office, whoever was the spearhead behind that deal. And all indications are it was the new owner, which I guess I understand. I don't think Phoenix is winning. I mean, you traded a lot of your depth. You traded some really key components. You could argue, and I think you and I have, that Mikal Bridges could potentially be a bigger star away from Phoenix than he was with Phoenix, and could be a better player away from Phoenix than he was with Phoenix, just because of the way that team was already made up without Kevin Durant. But that's a drastic change. Yeah. And then you decide Monty can't see us through this. Okay, so you make another drastic change. And it's like, so what is your expectation? To walk in and win a championship next year with that group? That's tough for me. Again,
it is.
I understand it's Kevin Durant, but that's your expectation. That's hard for me. That's tough for me. I can't. It's just I can't see it. I can't see it.
I can see it. I can see them winning a championship.
Now that's as constructed. Maybe there are some changes coming here after the next head coach. Let me ask you this, because he's the butt of jokes. I like him. I think you like him. But he is the butt of jokes, and I know he's a finalist. If it's Doc Rivers, how are you feeling about that Phoenix team?
I'm not feeling worse. I think Doc is a good coach. I think he's gonna have success with that group. He's gonna have them ready to make a playoff run.
Yeah, they will make a run to the playoffs.
Well, they'll be. I mean, like in the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Now, will they be able to execute it? I don't know. But they got Doc. Like I think some people might look at it as if they sign Doc, they'd be like, oh, it's not going to happen for them. No, I don't feel that way.
I don't either. I just don't know that I feel differently.
I don't feel differently, but we feel differently about Phoenix. I could see them winning the title. And if they got Doc, I could still see them winning the title.